Coming to you from 8122 Production Studios in the heart of the 607, this is Horror Zone 607. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. And remember, you can always join the conversation using hashtag HZ607. Welcome to Horror Zone 607, the podcast where we talk all things horror and bring you the week's biggest horror movie news. I'm your host, Mike C., and with me as always, each and every week, is my co-host, the man that was once, just for 3 minutes and 27 seconds, the Prime Minister of England. Everybody say hello to Rich.
That's right. Unfortunately, there was a miscount, and I shouldn't have been the Prime Minister, but I still get to put it on my resume that I was former Prime Minister of England.
I remember that. It was a good time. Back in 1963. I remember that.
You know what the best part about it is? We got a party.
Yes.
That was it. That's all I gave a
There
damn
was a lot
about.
of tea and crumpets.
I didn't want. Well, no, we weren't drinking tea and crumpets, brother. We were getting loaded.
We were drinking the hard stuff, some natty ice.
We were getting the Guinness straight out the tap. Straight out the tap.
No natty ice.
Yeah. So
Big Natty Cool would drink the natty ice.
Yes, Big Natty Cool does that, but he doesn't come near the horror show. So.
And that's the end of our show for this week, everybody. Good night, everybody.
There was the jokes. We're done.
That's it. That's all we got. All right. Well, we got some news to get into this week, so we might as well jump right into it. I think that this is going to become a recurring theme every week for about the next 6 months, where we're going to be talking about casting news for the new Halloween Kills movie.
Maybe I should get like a musical opening, so every week we can be like, Halloween Watch. Halloween Watch Week 185. No,
yeah, we can have like the song where like Laurie's going across the street in the original movie is do-do-do-do-do-do. We can just have that as I announce who's going to be coming. So.
Yes, pretty much.
All right, so obviously, I always say this, if you like horror, well, obviously you like horror if you're listening to our show, so you probably know, but if you don't, they are casting for Halloween Kills, and I talked about this on the show last week, how I was hoping a certain somebody that they'd bring her back in the same character from the original movie.
Well, last week you were upset because not upset, but you were not happy that they cast Anthony Michael Hall as Tommy Doyle when they could have cast the original
Brian
Tommy
Andrews.
Doyle.
I was kind of hoping it was going to be him, and then I mentioned how I was hoping that...
However, you get a 50-50 split here.
Yeah, because Kyle Richards is going to be reprising the role of Lindsay Wallace.
So there you go. You get a 50-50 split.
Dude, I am excited about this. Very, very excited about this. I don't know how her acting is going to be, but I know she's on The Real Housewives of something or other. I never watched it, but I know she's on there. Yeah. I also know she's Paris Hilton's aunt. I don't know if that has anything to do with it.
Well, I don't know if that has anything to do with it.
She's a better actress, I'm sure.
I was going to say, I don't know if that has anything to do with her being back in the movie.
No.
I think they were just trying to put the pieces back out.
Yeah, and I like the nostalgia factor with this. I really do. Like I said a week ago, I mentioned this specifically, and then a couple of days later, boom, there was the news.
Which makes me think that maybe the original Tommy Doyle maybe didn't want to come back. Maybe he was offered.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering that now.
Because if you know, they originally also tried to get Paul Rudd, who would also be reprising the role of Tommy Doyle because he played Tommy Doyle in Curse of Michael Myers.
Right.
So therefore, maybe they did try to get him, and he was just like, not interested. I don't act anymore. Does he act anymore?
I think the last thing I saw, there was like some movie. There was a movie in 1987 that he was in, and then nothing again. There was something in like 2015 when I looked it up on IMDb, but I don't know. It might have been some kind of a documentary. I don't know what it was.
Super sporadic and probably not.
Right.
So he's probably out of the acting business.
Yeah, and he said for years he would love to reprise the role. So maybe they did approach him, maybe they didn't. Who knows? This kind of makes me wonder.
I would be surprised
if eventually we'll hear that.
I was going to say I'd be surprised if they went out of their way and got Kyle Richards, who I don't know, other than The Real Housewives, she hasn't really been doing anything in acting.
Right.
And that's allegedly a reality show, which we all know reality shows are scripted.
Right.
But I'm assuming if they went that far to pull that deep, the deep draw of her,
right,
and not try to recast, somebody, newer or hotter or whatever you want to go with, and I'm not saying looks-wise hotter, I'm talking about in the acting
popularity. Right.
And they didn't go that route. I feel like they possibly offered him, and maybe for whatever reason it was like, well, I wanted to do it before, but now for whatever, or maybe to come to terms with money, because sometimes people think that they're worth more money than what they're worth.
Right.
I hate to say it, but there's a lot of times that actors pass up on roles because they think that they've, they should deserve more than what they're getting.
Right.
And then it turns out to be a mistake. And sometimes people are smart like Robert Downey Jr. and take a little bit of money for the first Iron Man and then ended up making a killing.
Oh, yeah.
After they restructured his deal to keep him as Tony Stark. So sometimes you have to give and take. And I mean, if you're going to be a bit player or, a minor character in Halloween Kills or whatever, even though it's a huge franchise, you're still only technically a bit player.
Right.
Because I don't see that these, I could be wrong, but I don't see that these characters are going to be a major force, if you will.
I'll be surprised if they are a major force, if they're major characters in it. I do think that it's just going to be that nostalgia factor with it. Although you got Anthony Michael Hall, who's not...
Right, but
he's not as big as he was in the 80s when he was a teenager in his early 20s.
He's done some cool things, but
he's not that massive actor. But at the same time, everybody knows him.
Right.
Everybody that's a fan of Halloween that's from our generation knows who he is.
But Scream.
Yeah.
Every time you go back, you go, but Scream. Drew Barrymore was the biggest star in that movie. Think about it. When Scream, the original Scream was made, the biggest star in the movie is Drew Barrymore. So the smart money was, there's our survivor girl.
Right.
And she gets killed in the first 10 minutes of the film.
Right.
So once again, you never know. They could be hiring Anthony Michael Hall, making people think it's a huger character than it is. I feel like the Tommy Doyle character is going to be a red herring in this movie.
Really?
I know. Well, here's the thing. We know now, this is my philosophy. This is just my opinion, people. We know now that, we do know now Michael's back. They're booking this as the knockdown, drag-out affair where Michael's going to finish up in these next 3 movies. We're going to end the Laurie Strode, Michael Myers feud. So it leads you to believe that Michael is back, correct?
Right.
What if we don't see Michael right away? What if we see like the killer, the shape, but what if they lead us to believe that it may not be Michael Myers, it may be somebody else?
That could be an interesting take on it.
So maybe Tommy Doyle is the red herring.
Yeah. I kind of doubt that it'll go that route. I wouldn't be opposed to it. I don't think it'll go that route because I think people will be up in arms about it. 'Cause, look at what happened at Halloween 3. Everybody expected one thing and it was something else and they had a fit. But I would dig that.
Ready for this? But they wouldn't. Because where it wouldn't be Halloween 3 or Friday the 13th 5 is it will actually be Michael Myers.
Right.
You just lead a red herring and, he was dead. We saw him burn. So it has to be somebody. And all of a sudden, Tommy Doyle, who is nowhere to be found, is all of a sudden around.
Right.
Okay, maybe he's the killer.
Right.
Maybe he is taking up Michael's mantle because he's messed up in his head. They might let you believe that. And then you find out when he gets the knife that it is him. Michael.
Right. And you know what?
That's the big reveal to kind of throw you off throughout the movie.
Here's the thing.
And I think that would be a better movie.
That would be a better movie because it would take it back to making Michael the Shape, which is what they promised for Halloween 2018, and he wasn't. There he was, front and center. In fact, you see his face more in that one, unmasked, than you do in any of the other ones. And there he was, front and center. That was a lie, and that's one of the things that really, really had me miffed when I saw that. I wanted to see a very dark movie where you just kind of see Michael's over the shoulder. You don't see his face. You see the Shape, and he wasn't that. That would be interesting if you do just kind of see the Shape, if he goes back to what they promised initially, and they can still do that.
Right.
And it would be a much better movie.
But
this has the potential to be a better sequel at this point with the characters that are going to be in it.
Absolutely, but that's why I'm saying that it doesn't necessarily have to go the route that the movies you're saying, quoting, are failed, because the route they went was not having the killer in them at all.
Right.
And in this case, or the reveal is that it's Roy, in the case of Friday the 13th 5, and that's what pissed people off. Because think about it, if that would have been Jason, at the end of the day, that goes down as one of it. It's still one of my favorites, but that goes down probably as one of the best Friday the 13th movies if it's Jason at the end.
Oh yeah.
If there's no Roy reveal, that goes down. So that's why I always tell people, watch that movie and just pretend it's Jason.
Right.
And the reason being is because that movie is great as a horror movie.
Yeah,
and as we talked about before, it's the most mean-spirited one out of all of them.
Oh yeah.
And it's great though. But that's what makes that such a, he's stalking, he's killing, he's brutal, and you love every minute of it. And then, you switch.
Right.
So that's where everybody jumps off. So what if you take that whole thing, the brutality, the person killing, and the whole time you're going, well, is it the former sheriff? Is it Tommy Doyle? Is it all these people who are connected that could have, lost their rocker and taken up the mantle of the Shape?
Right.
And then the reveal comes, and instead of being the letdown, it was Michael the whole time.
Right.
And that leads you into Halloween Ends with knowing the final battle is coming.
Right.
And but it gives you a whole movie in Halloween Kills where you get to have some fun with it.
Yeah.
And it becomes a whodunit, if you will.
And, I highly doubt that's the route they're going to go with it. I do, but you're onto something there. That would make a much better movie.
I believe that they're not going to go that route. I believe you're right. I believe they're going to go right up front.
It's going to be just like the last one was, I'm afraid. But yeah, that would make a much better movie.
That was my opinion. That's just what I would like to see. Once again, I do agree with you. I think it's just going to be a straightforward Michael Myers movie. But wouldn't it be cool if they tried to play a whodunit with the shape? So, the shape is the shape, and it's whodunit. Right. And then the reveal is, gotcha, it's Michael Myers the whole time. The really cool thing is if they can convince you, i.e., one of the, even though it was a horrible movie, the Nightmare on Elm Street remake. Yeah. The one thing that they did well in that movie was they kept making you believe that Freddy was innocent for a while.
Right.
Remember, there was a good portion of the movie where there was doubt in your mind, like, wait a minute, they killed an innocent man. Including the main characters were like, oh my God, he was innocent. Right. And then you find out it was much, much worse than you thought.
Oh, yeah.
Much worse. But it was at one point in juncture they got you. And I think that if the movie would have been better overall, it would have come off as better, but that was only that was the one shining part of that movie, in my opinion. If they could have figured out how everything else could have been, but they were too busy trying to make a remake of the original. They were too busy trying to stay to the original, and they added their own nuances that I thought were cool. The things that they added were what made me like that parts of that movie, i.e., the micro naps and the and that whole thing about him being innocent, and those are the parts I liked. The other parts I didn't, because the kills were the same pretty well. I mean, not exactly, but you knew who was getting it. Right. You knew who was going to get it because you knew it. And some of them were almost exactly the same. Right. I mean, it opened up great because it opens up with the dude slitting his throat in the most brutal, self-inflicted, neck slash.
Yeah, having rewatched it, I agree. It wasn't as bad a movie as I thought it originally was. You compare it with the original, and it's kind of like that. Right. That's where people get hung up on it, but it wasn't as bad as
because they made the mortal mistake of trying to make it too much like the original as they move forward. I mean, we had the bathtub scene. We had skinning the cat, if you will, when he kills her up the wall. Yes, it was a different one for the jail scene. Instead of him hanging, he was cooler with him, basically exploding out through his sternum, if you will. Right. After that really cool dialogue, that was one of the parts. See, the original parts of that movie were the better parts of the movie. Right. I.e., when it opens with him slicing his own. Well, they think he's slicing his own throat. Right. We know what's happening to him, but it was brutal. But it was a brutal looking thing. It set a tone. It set a tone that if they would have followed that tone the rest of the movie, all right, I'm on board. Right. But then they crossed over and tried to copy. So that's where it lost people when they copy. So that's why I'm saying, as long as Halloween can stay away from that, it'll be a great movie. Yeah,
I hope so. And I mean, I think it's kind of cool too. You get Kyle Richards back to play Lindsay. You got Tommy Doyle back. It's the first time that those two characters have been in a movie since. I mean, technically they were in the second movie in the opening scene, which was a rehash of the first one, but they were only in the first movie. Now that's debatable because there was a Lindsay character and a Tommy character in Halloween 4, but they haven't both been in a movie together since then, and you don't know if that's what they were.
Tommy Doyle was in 6. Was in Curse.
He was in 6, but Lindsay was not in it. Exactly. I'm talking about them being together. Right. So, and again, technically, there was both those characters in 4, but you don't know if they're the same characters.
What if they are together? What if they're married?
That could be. I was just thinking about that. Yeah,
that'd be crazy. Write it.
It'd be a messed up.
Redo this script, damn it! If you
those poor kids.
Oh yeah, they have kids and their kids.
They were sleeping in each other's beds and whatnot when they were 7. That was not appropriate. No, it was not appropriate. I was offended.
Star-crossed lovers the whole time, but I'm excited that she's in the movie, and I'm excited that it looks like it's taking shape. And to my chagrin and to your chagrin, it looks like it's going to be a better movie than 2018.
Yeah, so far, definitely. More nostalgia in it. I just hope that it's filmed in a better way and looks better and has a better script. So, moving on, we've got a little bit of Terminator Dark Fate news that came out. So apparently, this movie, we don't know what exactly it's going to do. It's got a massive budget, and we don't know if it's going to recoup it. The last few movies have pretty much underperformed. But apparently, this is supposed to be kicking off a new trilogy.
I do think they'll recoup it. And I'm going to say 2 words that make me believe so. James Cameron. I mean, he's not directing, he's producing.
Right.
But the fact that this looks a lot like T2 means that he's obviously being very hands-on.
Right.
And this, of course, is a direct sequel to T2.
It is. And you got Tim Miller directing, who, of course, did that, the first Deadpool movie, and it was amazing.
Like honestly, they have an amazing cast. They have every character back that you want to see back.
Right.
I just the trailers alone have got me excited to see this movie.
Oh, yeah. I think the new trailer was awesome.
I honestly, even the crappy Terminator movies didn't do bad in the theater because people love the name Terminator. This is going to finally be a payoff for all those us fans who sat through horrible movies like Genesis and Salvation.
And I didn't mind those movies personally. I'm not this big mega Terminator fan, but I did like them.
I want to point this out. I will take a beating for this. 3 was good, believe it or not. I really enjoyed Terminator 3. Terminator 3 was actually fit in very well, which is kind of sad that it's going away now. Terminator 4, which would technically be Salvation, I enjoyed Salvation. There was flaws in the movie, but I enjoyed it for what it was.
I liked the storyline in it.
Yes, the storyline was good. Like I said, I enjoyed the movie. There was flaws, but I enjoyed it. Genesis, I did not enjoy because I didn't like how they retconned it. Like Genesis, they started to come way too far off the reservation. I think the only reason we're abandoning the whole timeline is because of Genesis and what they kind of did to the John Connor character and everything that you thought you knew, which was really kind of like, well, this makes no sense.
It made no sense. It was a mess. I appreciated what they tried to do. It hadn't done well, with Salvation. It was kind of going off the rails. They tried to reboot it, so to speak, and they put it into an alternate timeline.
And it just didn't work out as well.
It didn't work out as well. But I didn't hate it.
I was going to say, there's parts of that movie that are entertaining. Because once again, I watched most of the Terminator movies as action films. The only one that really was not a straight-on action film and was an amazing sci-fi thriller was 2. T2 is the only one that's really an amazing sci-fi thriller that goes beyond just being an action film.
Right.
Terminator 1 is a slasher film. Yeah. 1 is a straight horror movie. Just throwing that out there.
Oh, yeah.
1 is a straight horror movie with the sci-fi elements. That's all it is.
It's definitely a slasher. That's all. I agree. It's a horror movie.
The reason 2 is so great, it was the perfect melding. With James Cameron on board, he turned it into this huge sci-fi movie. He had just gotten done with The Abyss. Abyss was amazing. The visual effects in Abyss. And then he took those effects and then took them a step further and put them in T2.
And T2 was phenomenal.
And you add the storyline to it. You add everything that's going on. You still had the action. You still had the violence.
Were you old enough when it came out to remember the buzz around that and how big it was?
Yes.
That was
amazing.
So big. And I want to see this do the same thing. But there was so much around it. You had music videos. You had Guns N' Roses with a big, massive
unfortunately, all that
song
stuff
in
is
it.
gone now, unfortunately.
True.
I mean, music videos have kind of gone the way of the dinosaurs, except for like Vivo on like YouTube and stuff.
Right. But I mean, you had that mega band. They were big at the time.
Well, yeah, they were the biggest band in the world at the time.
Yeah.
And they were doing You Should Be Mine I was on the soundtrack of T2. I think this movie has a T2 feel to it. My only concern is if they get cold feet after opening weekend. I think opening weekend it'll do fine, but I don't know if it's going to do the numbers they expect opening weekend. I don't know if it's going to do over 100 million. I think I wouldn't be surprised if it does over 100 million because it looks amazing. I have the feel in the beginning of this that the song that they've used in the trailer is sweet.
I agree.
Sweet. This is the feel. This is T2 to me, and I'm like, wow, I can't wait to see this movie. I just hope that fans are on the same. Once again, you can't trust everything to theaters too, as far as numbers, because nowadays things have changed. People don't consume media the same ways. I mean, we've talked about it before. You can get the Regal Unlimited, and I'm not sure how that works for ticket sales as far as a movie's concerned, or if they just check that you were in a seat because you're only paying $20 a month or $22 a month. Or
exactly, and now a lot of people too, they wait for it to come out on digital platforms. But those things, although DVD wasn't really around at that point. It was VHS, which was big at the time that T2 came out, but
DVD had started to come in, but it wasn't as big as it became.
But I mean, now everybody's buying everything on digital platforms, and
most people aren't even buying hard copies anymore.
Right. But here's the thing: this movie, I'm looking at an article right now. Somewhere between 160 and $200 million was the budget for this. This movie's going to have to make $500 million to recoup this and make a profit. It's something that they need to do well.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to them doing well. I think this movie's not going to do. I don't know if it's going to do super hugely amazing, but I I'm just going to gamble and say this movie by word of mouth. Maybe week 1, the numbers are only like 60 million to 80 million.
Right.
I think week 2, they're going to have a similar return, though. Because I think word of mouth, if this movie is as good as it looks, word of mouth is going to bring back. And now, usually movies, unless they're Marvel films or Disney films like Lion King and such, they usually drop second week quite a bit. So you have that, even those movies dropped. Even those movies, they do 100 million, 200 million the first week, and then the second week they're down to 100. They drop off.
Right.
So most movies, so a movie that does like, let's say 75 million for the sake of this podcast, usually week 2 drops down to about 40 million.
Right.
And that's or lower if it was really bad. But this one I feel like could open at 75 million and then week 2 do 65 or 70 million by word of mouth.
It's going to need to.
As long as the movie is good.
Right. Here's where the marketing part of it's going to come into play as well. The original, well, not the original, but T2. Again, I don't know if you remember this, but McDonald's, Burger King, toys, toy lines, everything was Terminator 2, and it was an R-rated movie, but everything, the marketing for that movie was just through the roof. And a lot of movies don't do that now unless it is a superhero movie, and a lot of those things stay away from that. So, stuff that involves children, like McDonald's, like Burger King, like toy lines, they stay away from R-rated things now. So I don't know that you're going to see the marketing like you did that, and that's what's going to hurt it.
But here's the thing. Marketing has also changed. I don't think we see that marketing for anything really anymore. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that goes by the wayside.
The Marvel stuff.
But that's Disney. But Disney wants to make money on like every level. But here's the thing. Like other than that, there's still movies that do well, i.e. It Chapter 1.
Right.
And we're expecting that this weekend, It Chapter 2 will also do very well. Here's the reason why, though. And I'm going to pitch this, and I think this is the reason why this will do well. What was the age group of the people, how old are they now, that are going to be watching this new Terminator movie? It's the same as the age group that were watching the It miniseries and then came out in droves to give a huge opening to It Chapter 1. And that's where they win. And that's where, as long as they can get everybody excited, like I am right now, going, hey, man, this is the best thing. This looks like T2. And that's not a bad thing. This is a good thing. It looks like it's a continuation, which it's supposed to be. But it looks that way. It's presenting that way. That's going to get fans like me and you excited about going to see this movie. And we're going to go out and see this in droves. Same thing was true of Halloween 2018. Yeah. The same thing, that's what you need to tap into now more than any marketing is can you tap into the nostalgia feel for people, in our, obviously between the ages of pretty much 30 and 50. Mm-hmm. It's really in that age group. If you can tap into that nostalgia feel for all of us, then we're going to go out and we're going to buy these movies. We're going to go and we're going to take our kids and we're going to take our friends. And this is going to make people feel excited because that's what you saw with It Chapter 1. Right. That's what you saw with Halloween 2018. That's what you've seen with a bunch of different movies. That's what you even saw with Child's Play a little bit. I know Child's Play didn't do $100 million, but it did well at the box office.
Better than expected.
Way better than expected. And that's why, because there was this nostalgia feel for people going, shoot, this looks good. It helped that the last couple trailers for Child's Play looked amazing. Right. But people are like, man, this is the movie that I want to see because this reminds me of a kid when I was watching Chucky movies.
Right.
Well, we're going to take a break real quick because we got two subjects.
Can you believe it?
And trust me, they were great. That's what I love about this open forum. But we're going to take a quick break. If you want to comment on anything we talked about, you want to talk about Halloween, you want to talk about the series, you want to pitch us on an idea for it, we're more than welcome. I would love to hear it. Or your feelings on Terminator Dark Fate, or how you think some of this stuff, maybe I made sense or didn't make sense about how I think movies, make money these days. Go ahead, hit us up on Facebook, Horror Zone 607. While you're there, like the page, share the page, rate and review the page. Help us with that algorithm because, we're only just trying to get out there and get more out there. Also, please follow us on Twitter at Horrorzone 607. Wow, I almost gave our hashtag first, but it's at Horrorzone 607. Use the hashtag HZ607 to join the conversation on all of our social medias. Also visit 8122productions.com. You can read reviews from Horrorzone. You can see our little page there. You can stream and download our shows from there. That's awesome. Also, you can find us anywhere podcasts are found by searching Horrorzone 607. And we're going to go to the break. And at the break, it's actually, you're going to hear about a place that you can see us on October 4th and 5th. So when we come back, we're going to have a few more news items, right?
Absolutely.
All right, we'll be right back in the zone. October 4th and 5th in Oneonta, New York. At the Oneonta Foothills Performing Arts Center, we present Sci-Fi Horror Fest 2019. This year, we have celebrity guests from Children of the Corn, Courtney Gaines, from Night of the Creeps, Jill Whitlow. And from Ghost Hunters, the paranormal heartthrob himself, Dustin Pari. Also, we'll have other guests and vendors and so much more. You can get all your ticket information at sci-fi-horrorfest.com. It is $10 for the weekend, $6 for one day. And we hope to see you in Oneonta on October 4th and 5th for Sci-Fi Horror Fest.
And welcome back to the Zone. So we got a lot more news items to talk about here this week. We hit two big things in our first segment, but there is a lot more to talk about this week. We keep talking about all these nostalgic movies and all these feels and stuff like that. Well, the next piece of news, it's not quite the same, but it's not as big in terms of what Halloween is and what Terminator is, but there's been a bunch of Tremors movies that have been made over the last couple of decades, and there's going to be a 7th Tremors movie, and apparently Michael Gross is going to be back starring as Burt Gummer once again.
So let me get this straight. They're finally making another Tremors movie.
Finally?
I know we've had 6 of them.
Yeah.
But there's been a rumored 7th one now for a while.
Yeah.
And now it seems like they're finally serious about it.
Yeah, it's going to happen.
And which is cool because I'm sure that has something to do with all the success in horror movies.
Right.
Are we going to get everybody back though? Or do we just have him back?
The only thing I know for sure is that he's going to be back in it, but I don't really know. Yeah, I would love to see and I think it would have to go back to theaters if they were going to do it, but I'd love to see Kevin Bacon back on board. I mean, they were going to make the series. They filmed a pilot with him, and he was going to be playing Lucky again.
I'm just pointing out that's the only person I really cared about coming back.
Yeah.
I want to see me some Kevin Bacon.
I know. I don't know. Being that it's Tremors 7, I don't see it happening, with him or anybody else coming back because they've been going direct to video.
Ready for this, though? What if? Because I know Kevin Bacon's on this big tour of giving back to his fans. Mm-hmm. What if it's just a cameo? I'd be happy with that.
That'd be
he
fine.
Just shows up at the end of the movie. Just boop, there I am.
Yeah,
I would be happy with that because I'd bark out like a little.
I'd rather see him than Jamie Kennedy in another one. I'll tell you that.
Oh, jeez, don't even get me started.
Everybody's favorite sidekick.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be happening at some point. So get ready. More Tremors. More graboids. More aftershocks.
There you go. Aftershocks. That's what it should be.
All right. So, you kind of mentioned it in the previous segment briefly here, but we got a little movie coming out this weekend. Tiny thing. It's a little independent film. Maybe nobody's heard of it. I don't know.
There's just a new director, new cast. They're just
I don't know if anybody's going to hear about it.
Up and comers.
A lot of up and comers. Nobody I've ever heard of. I've never even heard of the first movie in the series.
It's a guy named Jim McAvoy. I don't even know. I don't even know how to pronounce his name.
I think it's James. Maybe he likes James.
It's not Jimmy Boy?
I don't think it's Jimmy Boy or Jimmy Bob or any other versions of Jimmy. I think it's James that he likes. Well, you guys may have heard of it. I don't know. It's a tiny, tiny, tiny little itty-bitty film with no budget. I don't know. You might not want to see it. It's called It Chapter 2.
Itty-bitty budget? I know we were doing this for the joke, but geez, man. There's no such thing as a little budget as far as this movie is concerned. I'm super impressed. We have all the children from the first one back. As a matter of fact, we talked about it a couple of weeks ago. They did an interesting thing where they de-aged the kids.
Yeah.
Which is the first time they've done it for younger people. We've seen it in the Marvel movies for older people like Michael Douglas and Robert Downey Jr. both did it, and we've seen it in other movies as well.
Right.
But this will be the first time they've done it to children.
Yeah, they said some of them still look the same, but I don't know. Like Finn Wolfhard grew, and he's like 8 feet tall now.
He's a mega star now.
I know.
He's in the new Ghostbusters movie.
Yes, he is.
Stranger Things is just... it was already a rocket ship, but it's still launching because season 3 was phenomenal. We talked about that before.
I'm still crying.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm scarred from that final episode. But yeah, no, this has got a great credit. I mean, James McAvoy, I was excited when he was attached automatically. Yeah. There's just such a great cast. I think this movie is going to be very good. My only worries is that my least favorite part of the miniseries was the adult version.
Mine too.
So that's my only worries, but...
You got a better cast than that was.
Once again, we have an amazing cast.
And that was a big cast for its time. Harry Anderson, John Ritter. It was a big cast for its time.
No, granted.
But
but it's not the cast we're getting this time.
No, we're getting megastars this time.
This is amazing cast, and it's perfect. I don't know if you saw that they had the posters for each of the characters and showing the adult version and the child version,
like half and half.
Boy, did they like hit a home run on like picking the right adult actors to play them, because it looked like that could be a progression. Like I was like, wow, that's amazing. So
and that was something lacking in the miniseries. So
yeah, because you didn't see that. You know, Seth Green growing up to become Harry Anderson. I can't buy it.
Beep beep, Richie.
I couldn't buy it. And now, mind you, I love Harry Anderson and I love Seth Green, but I couldn't buy that Seth Green was going to grow up to become Harry Anderson.
Right. But
I can believe that Finn Wolfhard's going to grow up to be
Bill Hader.
Bill Hader.
Yeah,
I can believe, especially when you put them side by side. You're like, oh crap, I can believe that.
And they even made Bill Hader look like. I mean, like the hair is still somewhat similar.
Yeah.
Still has the glasses on. He looks the part. He's a wisecracking kind of guy.
Love it. I love
that was good casting.
So,
everything's good casting. Jessica Chastain. That's what everybody was talking about when they made this. Who should play? The adult version of Beverly, and everybody's like, "Oh, we want Jessica Chastain," and boom, that's who they went out and got.
I mean, Chastain is good. I'm just checking right now. Rotten Tomatoes has this at a 72%.
Yeah, so far, early return. There was a review on Bloody Disgusting that hit today, and they're saying that it's good, but it doesn't hit like the first one did. And that's it's about a half hour longer, I think, than the first movie. It's almost 3 hours long.
2 hours and 49 minutes.
Yeah, it got kind of so reviews. They said that there's just some things that were kind of lagging. They didn't say it was a bad film. They just said it's not as good as the first one was. But you know what? I'll take that compared to how bad part 2 was to part 1 compared to part 1 with the miniseries. And again, it was just a miniseries. It was on television. It was on ABC. But
I mean, this
is a major motion picture, so it's going to have a bigger budget.
The second part of a movie, even if it's chapter 2, is still usually not as well received as the original.
Right. And the kids were so darn good in the first one. It was going to be hard no matter who you got to make a better movie, just because they were so amazing. They were what made that movie so good.
I have hope for this movie, and I mean, I understand why some people are critical. Okay, so I'm going to say this. I think a lot of the problem the critics have with this movie is this is now more of a traditional horror movie from what I understand from what has been leaked. It's more of there's a lot of gore, there's a lot of violence. There wasn't a ton of that in the first chapter.
Right.
Like, if you think about it, if you really think about the first chapter, there was violence, there was blood, but it wasn't in a way that it was like, I don't know how to explain it. It wasn't like barbaric. It wasn't really yanking at you. You were more enthralled with the story of the children. I mean, it was graphic. It did have its spots, and I'm not taking away from it. I love it. Chapter 1. It's going to be hard to beat it. Right. However, I think that some of the detractors are because this is becoming more of a, the closing chapter of this is pretty much becoming more of a horror movie. I mean, if they're going between, they've done a good job of kind of riffing off of the original source, which would be the book, and then of course the miniseries, and then doing a couple of their own things. But they're kind of mixing the two up,
right, in
a really nice way, and it's putting a nice little bow on it. And if you know anything about it, coming into the third act of the book and of the miniseries, everything amps up. The violence amps up, the gore amps up, everything amps up, the emotions amp up. So I feel like a lot of people are detracting because they're expecting it chapter 1. And it's a different movie.
Right. I mean, the headline on, I'm looking at Bloody Disgusting right now as we're doing this. The review, here's the headline for the review. It Chapter 2 delivers a cornucopia of nightmares, but doesn't quite live up to Chapter 1. Well, you know what? I'm okay with a cornucopia of nightmares in it.
Well, think about it. They're in the business of horror. And they basically said what I just said was going to probably be what was in the movie. And I didn't even read that article because I'm trying to stay away from reviews because I want to see it on my own. But honestly, so that gives me hope, because if the horror site's writing that it's got the nightmares, that proves my point. It is now more of a horror movie, which turns some of the audience off, because a lot of people went out to see it chapter 1 aren't necessarily horror fans. I mean, Three Fat Nerds' own young Derek Collins, he went and he saw. And he kung fu karate chopped the air because he hates horror movies, but he liked it, and he's going to go see the second one.
Oh.
So I mean, he's not going with me. He's got a hot date. I'm not going to
really.
I'm not going to comment that on any further than that. He doesn't listen to this show, so therefore I get away with that.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Good for him. I don't even have a hot date.
No.
I mean, I've got friends I'm going with. They're hot.
Well, I mean, I guess if I
don't have a date of my own.
I was gonna say, I guess if I go with my wife, I have a hot date, but I don't know. I have to con her into going.
Yeah, my girlfriend is not going to go see it, so I don't have a hot date.
Yeah, I was gonna say so.
Whatever.
Yeah, I'm looking forward. I will be going this weekend. I know Mike will be going this weekend. So
yeah, I'm going to see it Saturday night.
I was gonna say next week. I do believe Talking Horror will probably be a review, unless we do a special review.
Right.
Because we might do a special review. We might have to talk about this movie, so maybe we'll do a special review.
Right.
I don't know. Well, either way, you will get a review next week somehow. Somewhere.
Yeah, I'm planning on writing one about this after I watch it. I'll probably have to write it on Sunday, after I kind of digest it overnight, and I'm up all night.
There you go.
About it.
Crying.
So sticking with it, it was actually announced Sci-Fi starting Thursday, this Thursday, September 5th. It'll be tomorrow for us. Today, if you guys are listening to this on Thursday morning, their Sci-Fi network is actually going to be showing the miniseries. So, if you've never seen it, it's definitely worth a watch. Now... kids are so desensitized. If you're kind of in a younger generation, you might not, especially if you've seen, the It movie that was in theaters 2 years ago. It might you might be a little desensitized to it, but I think it was a good, I love the first half of it. I really do. The kids were great in that too. I like the look of it. It was great. It looked like the times. It looked like something that was made in the 80s, even though it came out in 1990. But, it kind of had a certain look to it that I like.
Well, of course, it takes place. The kids' version of it takes place
the 1950s.
1950s, and then as adults, it's in the 1990, 1989.
Yeah,
same thing, same difference.
Right.
So I always liked it. It's a good movie. I will say this though: after seeing it, Chapter 1, it's changed my. It Chapter 1 knocked it to the second. I don't know if Chapter 2 will follow suit. I should, because it's not hard to beat. I'm sorry. No offense to the great actors in that movie, but it's not hard to beat with the cast they have. It wouldn't be hard to beat the original miniseries older cast. And I'm assuming it's going to be equally as good as, maybe It Chapter 1 was better, but It Chapter 2 will still be kind of somewhere right below it. And it looks like every Bloody Disgusting is kind of saying that as well.
Right.
But I'm looking to say that the miniseries, watch it. It's a lot of fun. You should see it sometime. It is a lot of fun. It does deliver. However, it's a different kind of delivery. If you're expecting It Chapter 1 because you've seen It Chapter 1, but you've never seen the original miniseries, that's not what you're getting.
Right.
Tim Curry does a great job as Pennywise.
Oh, he was a great Pennywise.
But his Pennywise talks like he just got done smoking a pack of cigarettes a day.
Right, which he probably did.
Bill Skarsgård plays the character more terrifying.
Right. I always said the best word to describe it, in my opinion, was more menacing.
Yes.
He was more menacing.
Well, see...
But something about the look of the original one, I think that he was simple, but he was creepier looking when it was Tim Curry.
Here it is. The reason why more people are scared of clowns, probably because of the Tim Curry version, the original version, is because he looks like a normal clown.
He looks like a normal circus clown.
Like, when you look at him, you see clowns at the circus that look just like him. He is based on a real... he looks like Bozo the Clown. He really does. It's not... It was a genius thing to do. And then he does some scary things, and he has the voice at the time is creepy. Like I said, it's very deep. Hey, Richie. Yeah. I can't do the voice really good, but that's how it is.
That was pretty good. That's what he sounded like.
The difference, thank you. I didn't think I could do that. But the difference is when you get to Bill Skarsgård. Skarsgård does not look like your normal clown. He looks like a scary clown.
Yeah, he looked like a monster more.
He looks like a clown that you would see and go, okay, I got to go the other way.
Right.
Then you add to the fact the way he talks. He talks more with a high-pitched voice.
Right.
And that makes it creepier. And then the fact that he can do this acting with he did a great job of physical acting to make him creepy. That creepiness mixed with being a scary clown. And you're right, menacing probably is the best word. So he is a scarier incarnation of it than what Tim Curry was. And it's not saying that Tim Curry did bad, because he did amazing. And that's why people are terrified of clowns, because he did amazing.
Right.
Because he looked like a regular clown, and then he was scary. Whereas Skarsgård is just a terrifying horror icon now.
Right.
A terrifying horror icon. You can put him in the levels with every other horror icon we know from the 80s. You can put that incarnation of it, if you will, Pennywise the Clown, in that.
Right.
Because he is kind of like that. Whereas the Tim Curry version, that's nightmare fuel if you don't like clowns.
Yeah. I agree.
That's my easiest take on it.
Well, I urge anybody that's never seen it, check it out. You may not like the miniseries after you watch it, especially if you've seen the new movie or the new movies with the new one coming out. But I dig it. I think everybody should check it out just to see what where the material came from. Well, I shouldn't say where it came from, because it came from the novel, but
I mean, you don't get foul-mouthed kids.
Right.
I mean, that's the bad part.
Because it was on television.
And even the kids in the movie, Seth Green is one of the kids. I can't remember his name, but the kid from Never Ending Story, the second Never Ending Story movie. And what was that? There was I'm not even going to jump into that. Anyways, they had a cast. They were good. It wasn't like they were bad. It was just made for television. So they were PC and very much tamed down.
Right.
But the Beep Beep Richie thing is great.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And but you don't get Richie dropping F-bombs.
No.
And that makes it chapter 1, believe it or not, because he drops them in the right places.
and there's no mullet-wearing trailer trash.
For Henry?
For Henry, yeah.
They're
it was actually like a
greasers.
greaser.
They're greasers.
50s greasers, which I kind of preferred that version of them.
Yeah, but 80s had mullets, man. That's what
They
were doing
did,
it
and
for.
I know it was different eras. That was in the 50s. This one was in the 90s or 80s.
In the 50s, the bully would have been a greaser. In the
Right.
80s, the bully would have been the guy driving the
Guy with the
Trans
mullet.
Am with
Yeah.
a mullet. So they did a good job.
They did make, it's not that they didn't do a good job with it. It's just I kind of preferred the 50s version, the greasers and everything.
It's because of your age. It's okay.
It was nostalgia. Yeah, we determined off air today I'm old.
Yes, but you weren't born in the 50s either, so.
No, close.
Not
Close.
that close.
The 40s.
Yeah. You better go the other direction.
I just turned 73 this past week.
That's a lie. You want me to give you a real age?
No.
Go ahead.
All right, so there was a movie that we talked about a couple of weeks ago. It's just kind of it's going to be going direct to video, but I thought it looked pretty cool, coming out for the Halloween season. It was a movie called Haunt. It was about haunt attractions. We had mentioned that September 13th that was going to be hitting digital and VOD. So it's coming out in a week. What's that?
It's an Eli Roth production.
Yes,
right?
that's right. That's right. And I thought it looked pretty cool. It kind of got so reviews from people, but the trailer looked good. I was looking forward to seeing it. Well, for those of you that subscribe to Shudder, again, we are not endorsed by them or anything like that.
Unfortunately,
we like to talk about them, and I've been watching more and more things on Shudder lately too. And there's awesome stuff on there.
They just had all the Nightmare. They just had all the Nightmare on Elm Street.
All kinds of cool stuff is on there now.
Yeah, I know, it's amazing.
More than when you first,
I know. I'm so
brought it
excited.
to my attention.
By the way, Shudder, anytime.
I know, Shudder. If you're listening, we want to be a part of your network.
But we're plugging you for free.
Yeah. But it's going to be hitting Shudder on October 24th. So
awesome. But it's on VOD on September 13th.
Yes. Right? Okay. Yes. So next Friday it'll be on VOD if you want to pay for it ahead of time.
I'm going to wait.
I'm going to wait till it's on. Plus it's going to be a week before Halloween. It's kind of a Halloween theme to it.
I might have to come over to Mike C's house and watch.
We might do that,
and then we can do a review on it.
Absolutely.
That'd be fun. That'll be in between. That'll be our week off, anyways.
Yes,
that's the best part about when that comes out.
Yeah,
that's in between our two con dates.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
We got plans.
We do have plans. It's gonna be a big October. And then to wrap up the news this week, a couple trailers. We like to talk about trailers that we see. So first of all, we did watch a trailer before we went on the air today. There's a new movie that's going to be coming out called Gretel and Hansel.
Yes, and he did not.
Which is based on Hansel and Gretel.
I was going to say he did not mess it up.
No, it's called Gretel and Hansel. It's going to be starring Sophia Lillis, who is the young version of the character from It in It Chapter 2.
Yes, Beverly.
So she's going to be in it, and it's directed by Osgood Perkins, who, if you don't know, he's kind of becoming a name, as a director. He's got a couple of things coming out, but he's the son of Anthony Perkins, who, of course, was the original
Norman Bates.
Yes. So check that out. I thought it actually looked really cool. I didn't want to watch it when you first sent me the link for it, like 24 hours ago or something like that.
Yeah, because it just hit.
But yeah, we did watch the trailer before we went on the air, and the imagery is awesome. It actually looks like, it's not Hansel and Gretel witch hunters or whatever that was. I mean, this actually looks like it's Hansel and Gretel. It looked, but just like a horror movie of it, and that tale scared me as a kid.
Yeah,
people used to tell it.
It looks dark. It looks gothic. I said it. I said it looks like a mix, and this is not a bad way. It looked like a mix of like the Blair Witch meets Insidious.
Yeah.
Because there's some real freaky shots in that.
There is.
And it's very dark and it's very brooding.
Yeah, and I loved like that fall look with the woods and the woods and everything like that. I mean, you know how I feel about atmosphere, and that trailer had the atmosphere. So
it was good.
Instantly piqued my interest.
I will definitely be checking that out on January 31st, 2020.
Yeah,
that's
definitely
when it comes out.
And then one last trailer. You know what? I'm going to read this on my notes, just the way I wrote this, because I don't think that there's any other way that I could really do this. So here goes. Not since Deathbed, the Bed That Eats, have I seen anything quite like the trailer that I watched earlier for a new film called Killer Sofa.
That's right, Killer Sofa.
Those are how my notes are exactly written here.
Even though it's not a sofa.
Yeah, it wasn't even a sofa. It's a recliner.
Yes.
That
It looks like Domo.
people, kills people.
For those people who know Domo, it looks like Domo. It really does. And yes, it kills people. It looks like it possesses people too.
Yeah.
It's strange.
There's a lot going on in that trailer.
And the funny part is that, with the deathbed, it was tongue in cheek. This looks like it's serious.
Have you seen Deathbed, the Bed That Eats?
Yes, it is.
Isn't that something?
But it's very tongue in cheek.
That was an hour and a half I'll never get back.
Right. But it's tongue in cheek.
Yeah, it was. It was tongue in cheek.
It looks like they're taking it seriously.
Yeah, this looks like it's a straight up horror movie. There's no comedy.
Yeah,
at least not in the trailer. There's not.
There wasn't.
This thing takes itself 100% seriously.
Yeah. So we'll have to keep our eyes out for Killer Sofa.
Killer Sofa.
Is that
Killer Sofa? That's all we need to know.
Yeah, it's intriguing. Well, if you guys want to talk about killer sofas or recliners or ottomans or anything else that might be killing people in your house or anything that we talked about, once again, Facebook, HorrorZone607, Twitter, @HorrorZone607, hashtag HZ607 to join the conversation. We do want to hear from you guys, so just let us know. Now, we are going to take another break. And in this break, we are going to let you know where we're going to be in that between. Now, you heard Sci-Fi Horror Fest in the last break. And then we told you we were going to probably be checking out The Haunt, on the weekend we have off. Well, then that means the weekend after there's something that's going on. You're going to hear about that in the break. When we come back, I have a special list that I found on the interwebs that I want to get Mike C's opinion on what was on that list, and then also our opinions on other things. There's your little teaser for Talking Horror. We'll be right back. Join us October 18th, 19th, and 20th in Rochester, New York at the Rochester Riverside Hotel for Scaricon. This year we have a ton of great celebrity guests, including Barbara Crampton, Felissa Rose, Ashley Lawrence, David Naughton, the cast of Terrifier, the 40th anniversary of Phantasm, and of course Pinhead himself, Doug Bradley, will all be there. All of them, plus so much more. There will also be vendors and all such sorts of other great entertainment going on that weekend in Rochester, New York. For all tickets and other information about Scaricon, go to Scaricon.com, and we'll see you in Rochester on October 18th, 19th, and 20th. All right, it's time for Talking Horror. And this week in Talking Horror, we are going back to our friends Bloody Disgusting. I got to point it out there. And on bloodydisgusting.com, you can check out, there was an editorial this past week that went up that was entitled 15 Horror Films That Would Probably Make Good TV Shows and Who Should Run Them. We're not going to focus too much on the Who Should Run Them. I will mention it just because it was in the article. The article was written by Daniel Kurland. I just want to give him a shout out. You guys can check it out. For the sake of this, I'm going to use their list to kind of see if Mike agrees with it.
All right.
And if I agree with it, we'll give our opinions on it. And then I want to spitball a couple ideas maybe that you or I might have. So let's dive right in. First of all, we have the reason why we're doing this now is because we have a lot of horror movies that are getting made into TV series. Most notably this month, September, is when the launch of Creepshow on Shudder will happen.
Right.
Which is, I'm very muchly waiting for, and I know Mike as well.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. Yeah, you had The Purge also coming back in about a week,
yeah,
I believe.
Purge comes back in about a week. We could have,
I think it's 2 weeks.
We'll say this month also in September, The Purge comes back. And that's
American Horror Story.
That's a twist. American Horror Story 1984 comes out
that's
this
out
month.
in 2 weeks as well.
Yes, and then, of course, coming down the pipeline, we don't have dates for them right off the top because they keep changing them, but there is a show based on The Grudge. There's a show that's going to be based on Child's Play. Of course, James Wan has just signed up to produce and I Know What You Did Last Summer show for Amazon, and also there's an Event Horizon series in the plan.
Interesting.
So there's a ton of horror movies that are switching over. So this got our friends over at Bloody Disgusting thinking about, hey, what other ones would make possibly great shows? Now, some of these, I got to admit, I'm not interested in seeing another movie, but I'm interested in seeing a show. So the first one on their list is one of those. I'm not interested in seeing this as a movie, but if this is a show, this would work very well. And that would, of course, be Urban Legend. Do you remember Urban Legend?
Oh, I love Urban Legend. I watch that yearly.
Now imagine if it was a show. Think about it. Every episode, you could do a different Urban Legend.
That would be awesome.
They are saying that the showrunners should be Glenn Morgan and James Wong.
Interesting.
I'm not disagreeing with that, and I think that this is kind of giving the perfect scenario, if you will,
Right.
for a TV show. I don't know. Do you think that?
The movies ended up kind of being anthology. Because there was I think there was 3 of them that they made. I know there was 3,
and then I do believe they did a couple spin-offs too.
I don't remember any spin-offs. If there were, I didn't know
I do believe that they were VOD spin-offs.
The third one was. But yeah, they were kind of anthology. So would this be something where, would it be a slasher? Would it be something that would continue on? Would it be anthology? Would every episode be an anthology?
I would do Twilight Zone. Every episode is a different story.
Urban legend.
Yeah, you could do every episode as a different story.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. You could do it either way. You can make a great slasher series out of it.
You could do Mikey.
Yeah.
You could do the whole Mikey thing.
Which they mentioned in the original Urban Legend. That would be awesome.
Yeah, but you don't need a killer for that. You could actually just do it and say, oh, it was a legend, blah, 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 and make it scary. The next one up, I'm not a fan of because I do believe, I'm a fan of who they're pitching as directing and writing, but I am not a fan of the idea just because we know where Scream went. The movie The Faculty being a TV series.
Yeah.
You remember The Faculty?
I like that movie a lot. It's a product of its time, but I dig that movie.
I also dig The Faculty. I'm just tired of seeing the same teenage, they're doing I Know What You Did Last Summer. They did Scream. This would kind of be in that vein. I mean, I understand that it has an Invasion of the Body Snatchers feel to it.
Yeah, it was very sci-fi.
So it's different than those two, but it still deals with the same teenage angst. Although they were pitching for the director-writer combo of Karen Kusama and Diablo Cody, which that might be interesting to see.
It could be. I'm not a fan of Diablo Cody's dialogue.
Would you like to see a remake of The Faculty? That's another question.
I don't think so. I think that it was pretty perfect the way that it was. I like that movie. Again, despite being, that mid-90s, I think what was it, 97 that came out? 98? I think it came out in 98. I know it was Josh Hartnett's first movie, but I think Halloween H2O actually predates it. They were both his first 2 movies. I think that The Faculty might have been his first movie, but it was a product of that late 90s. Kind of the Dimension films, because then Dimension made it, so it was kind of a Weinstein movie, and they were all kind of similar feels.
Yeah,
but I think that was one of the better ones that they did, and I don't know that needs to be redone.
All right, next on the list is The Brood, which was David Cronenberg.
Oh, movie. Yeah,
very good. One of his more terrifying movies.
Yeah, it really was creepy.
They were pitching this as a possible 6-episode treatment. And they were also pitching I'm going to say his name wrong, I'm sorry, the Nick Anatoska, who was involved with Channel Zero.
Okay.
Should be the showrunner, writer, director.
Yeah, I could kind of see that. If it was going to be a short miniseries, like a 6-episode thing and not something that was going to be coming back yearly, kind of a one-time deal, I could see that.
The Brood is terrifying, by the way.
Yeah, it was pretty creepy. Cronenberg, though.
Cronenberg, yes. But, I mean, most of his stuff was not as creepy as that.
Right.
That was one of his more vicious stories.
Yeah, it really was.
Everything else, was tame in comparison to that. If you've never seen it depends on which iteration of The Fly you're watching.
Well, the 86 version with Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah, that is
pretty visceral movie.
That is pretty well, graphically it's visceral.
Yeah.
But The Brood is just kind of
messed up movie.
Yeah. Anyways, check out both of those.
Yeah.
Cronenberg is awesome. Next up, Cube. Remember Cube?
I do remember Cube.
They said that maybe a television series for Cube, possibly with Vincenzo Natali or Marcus Dunstan or Darren Lynn Bossman running the show.
I could see that.
Marcus Dunstan, the collector.
Yeah, they were involved in the Saw series too.
Yep.
I could see that. I'd be all for that. Again, I think that it would have to be kind of like The Purge, where it's it's all similar, but it's quote unquote an anthology type thing from season to season.
Well, the nice part about that is just like The Purge, though, that would benefit from character development.
Oh, yeah.
Because the more character development in Cube, the better.
The better.
That's the people you felt the worst for in that movie were the people you got to know.
Right.
And this would really mess with you because you get to know them on a deeper level.
Oh, yeah.
Next up is a movie that I know you haven't seen, but I have, and it's a Japanese movie called Audition. And Audition, if you've never seen it, just gives a quick synopsis. It starts out looking like a rom-com, and in the rom-com, it's a guy and a girl, and then it turns out the girl is a little psychopath, and she's trying to torture and kill people.
Oh.
Her preferable measure, piano wire.
Sounds like the story of my life.
So they're pitching an American version of this that would be led by Andrea Arnold. shouldn't be too bad. I mean, I liked it. I don't know, honestly. I don't know if it would be a good TV series. Now, I would like to. That's one of the ones that I would like to see an American version of that movie. If they were going to do an American version, just do a movie, just do a remake of it. It's very good. It's different from what we've seen. Check out if you guys like foreign films, especially Japanese horror films, or even if you don't and you think you want to get into it, Audition's always one that I pitch. It will scare the bejesus out of you, but it starts off super tame.
Yeah.
You almost feel like you're not watching a horror movie until about halfway through.
Right.
Next up, and I know this is near and dear to your heart, The Omen.
They tried that.
Yeah, I know.
I think it failed pretty miserably. It wasn't really The Omen. It was Damien. But the original one was such a classic. I actually don't have as big a problem with the remake, even though it was like it kind of had like the Psycho treatment to it, where it was almost a shot-for-shot remake.
Yeah.
But the acting was great. It had Liev Schreiber in it. You know, it was really good. I don't know. It could be it could be done well if it was the right people behind it, but I don't know that it would go too far.
Showrunners would be Carlton Cuse and Carrie Aaron from Bates Motel.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
that'd be the right team to do it because it'd be similar.
But I just don't see this as a TV show.
Yeah, I don't see that either, and I don't want to see it remade again either.
Next up is a show that I know you and member of Floodlands and good friend of ours, Jimmy Gazdick, both are huge fans of. And would you be able to guess it?
I would have to say either a Friday the 13th series, which they've talked about, or Sleepaway Camp.
You've got it, Sleepaway Camp.
Ah.
So they're talking Sleepaway Camp, Ryan Murphy and David Wynn. And by the way, Ryan Murphy is doing American Horror Story 1984.
Yeah, he's behind all of them, the whole series.
But I mean, but what would fit for this would be 84. Obviously, 84 hasn't come out yet, but slasher to slasher. I just don't know.
I don't like his touch on a lot of things, although I really, really, really dug Scream Queens, which I would give anything to see that series come back. That show was brilliant.
I just don't think, first of all, I don't know if Sleepaway Camp, I've already said Sleepaway Camp, it can never be remade, not in this atmosphere, especially because of what it deals with.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be able to pull off the surprise, so you'd have to try to find something different. And you could definitely not show that on television.
Oh, not as a series. I mean, yeah, if it was going to be a series, it would definitely have to be something different. I mean, they could keep with the same theme. I think that, any kind of a slasher series that deals with a camp.
You got to go with part 3 then, Teenage Wasteland.
Yeah.
Because then that would make for a good tongue-in-cheek comedy horror TV show.
Right. 2 and 3 were basically along the same lines.
But, I mean, 3 was a little more tongue-in-cheek. So I think you should go with that one. Even though, I'm not as big a fan of those ones. I'm more of a fan of the original. But still,
same here.
If you're going to do a TV show, you would do it after 2 or 3, where it's more tongue-in-cheek, more of a comedy, horror comedy, dark comedy.
It would have to be some kind of a cross between the two, I think.
This next one I can't even believe is on the list, but it's Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
No.
Yeah, I don't see that as a...
Although that's really the only thing left where that could go at this point, because that's the ultimate choose-your-own-adventure series.
Mm-hmm.
But...
Well, I guess if they did Texas Chainsaw 2 as a show, I mean, that might be more entertaining, but I don't see it.
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't want to watch that.
This next one I would be a fan of, but I believe it would cost way too much money. Alien.
Yeah.
I would be a fan. I would love to see an Alien TV show, because think about it. That you could make the aliens more menacing, especially because you would have a shorter period of time and a longer story.
Right.
And so the stalking and everything would be great. But it would cost, how much money that would cost?
Oh, it would cost a fortune. That would be more than Swamp Thing. Production-wise, but the sky would be the limit for that.
That would be awesome. And they wanted Brian Fuller to be in charge of it.
Interesting.
He did Hannibal, of course.
Yeah.
So I like that. I like the pick. I would love that show. Unfortunately, I don't think anybody has the budget for that show. Because to do that show right, we're talking millions.
Right.
Next up is another movie that I think would be fine as a TV show, but I think it would be costly because you'd have to bring it, and it would have to be on Shudder or Netflix or somewhere where you had R-rated shows, and that is Final Destination.
Yeah. I'm kind of surprised they haven't tried to do that yet. Again, that was something Tony Todd talked about it within the last 6 months or a year. That he thinks the reason why they haven't made another one of those yet is just because of how big the budget is. with the special effects and everything that they had to do for that. So again, that would be another big time budget type series if they did it. I don't know that it would necessarily need that kind of a budget if it was a TV series, but I'm surprised they haven't done that yet.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think it would have to be a decent budget because you'd want to have one, especially at least one kill an episode,
Right?
And those are usually pretty costly,
Right.
Next up, I don't think would make a good movie, or not. I'm sorry, it made a fine movie, but I do not think it would make a good TV show. I mean, I would love your opinion on it. That would be The Ring.
You know, I've been taking notes because I know off air you kind of thought you asked me, give me a couple of ideas of things that are not on the list. What I think that was actually one of the ones I wrote down when you were talking about the Japanese one. I did write down The Ring. At this point, after the way that the last movie turned out, that actually ended up killing any Friday the 13th movies being made for Paramount because Paramount made that movie and it bombed so bad. You know, it's inevitable that they're gonna try to make another one at some point, especially with a new Grudge movie coming out. They're not gonna give up on it. There will eventually be another Ring movie. Why not take it down that path as a TV series? That could be interesting.
That's a good argument. I can see if you're making that argument.
Yeah, but there's a lot of elements in there that you could stretch out as a TV series.
What, every week somebody different sees the tape?
Could be, or it could be something different. You know, there's, I don't know.
The next one is definitely for fans of horror, and I would be intrigued to see it, but I don't know how it would work, and that is Pumpkinhead.
Yeah, I kind of heard rumors that they were discussing, trying to bring that to television. I don't know. I don't know how it would do.
Better part about it, they are pitching Gary Doberman and Mark Verheiden. If they don't sound familiar, they're the ones that were showrunning Swamp Thing.
Really?
They're pitching.
I thought you were going to say Gary Busey at first.
No Gary Busey here.
He's too wrapped up in making Ginger Dead Man movies or something. So, I don't know. That would be the type of series. They actually made, what was it? I think there were 4 or 5 movies, and the last few of them actually were straight to sci-fi. I think that would be something that it would be sci-fi that would make it, so I don't know that it would have very good production value or story.
Unfortunately, not everything would be Pumpkinhead 2 Blood Wings.
Right. Not everything can.
And next up is John Carpenter's Prince of Darkness.
I would be all about that.
Yeah.
Very underrated horror movie.
Get ready for who they're pitching to run the show. Mike Flanagan.
That would be interesting. That would have to go something Netflix if they were going to do it, because he's a big-time director now, and he's done a lot of things with Netflix, but I would be all for that, especially if he was behind it. That would be incredible.
That was one of the ones when I read this list, I'm like, slam dunk.
Yeah.
That and Urban Legend were the 2 slam dunks. Other ones I was like, okay, but those 2 were like, oh man, why aren't these already happening? Because these are made for television.
Yeah, Prince of Darkness is, again, it's an underrated movie. I don't know that a lot of people know that it exists. When I was becoming a bigger and bigger horror fan, this was only maybe 10 years ago, 11, 12, I don't know, maybe 11, 12 years ago. We used to have big horror movie marathons every October, which I still do. But we used to do them at our good friend Luke's house. He used to live kind of out in the woods. And we used to actually the one year we pulled a TV out into the woods in October with hot apple cider, and they might have been spiked with a little something. But we actually watched movies in the woods at night. And this was like a week before Halloween that we did this, and that was the movie that people chose. And at the time, it was a wrong movie to watch out in the woods during a movie marathon. It should have been something like Sleepaway Camp or Friday the 13th that we watched. But I had never seen it or heard of it at that point, so that was the first time I had ever seen it. I didn't care much for it the first time I watched it, but I ended up buying it on DVD. I've watched it every time I've seen it on, like one of the movie channels. I dig that movie big time.
Unfortunately, also in October in the state of New York, that could be frostbite too.
Yeah, it was very cold.
I was going to say
it was very chilly.
I would be for that. I think that once again is another one of those movies that if it was a TV show, you can do more character development, you can do more things with it, and I feel like because that movie has so many layers that you could explore all the layers on a TV show. Kind of how The Purge worked out very well on TV because you can explore layers.
I'm going to go one further with that too. I would like to see them film it in the original filming locations.
Well, the next movie, I will see how you feel about it. I'll just name it, and then before you give your reaction, I want to tell you who the showrunner is too. So the next movie they have is also a John Carpenter movie, and of course that is The Thing. And they are pitching that Craig DeGregorio, I'm sorry if I said it wrong. I'm not sure who that is. Ash vs. the Evil Dead.
Oh, I didn't realize that was a. You know, that would be interesting because I've always wanted to see more of the thing, and they just, for whatever reason, just can't get that thing off the ground. No pun intended. I always wanted to see a sequel, and it never happened.
They did the prequel.
The prequel, which I don't care what anybody says, I dug that movie, especially after I watched it. And I was like, oh my God, this is not a remake. This isn't a reboot. This is a direct prequel to this. And they went to great lengths. If you watch that first...
They ended it with the scene that sets up the...
If you watch that movie and then you go immediately after and watch John Carpenter's The Thing, they went to great lengths. Everything is just impeccable.
Where they found it, how they found it, everything works. Yeah.
Things that were like the axe that was in the wall, everything was identical. They went to great lengths, and I dig that movie, and people need to give that more of a chance because that was a really, really good movie. I think I could see that. That would have to, again, be something I think would have to be on a Netflix or like an HBO or a Showtime or a Stars or something. It would have to be something that's more for like an adult audience, something where it could be a TVMA. But I would dig that.
Now, the last one on the list.
Actually, before you do that, okay, I just want to point one other thing out. If I was the one that was looking for a showrunner for that, I might go Flanagan on that one.
Yeah, that would work too. But last but certainly not least, on this list, Castle Freak. Have you ever seen Castle Freak?
I have not. I've never heard of that.
Castle Freak is fun. Castle Freak was from the 90s, so in a time when horror had fallen out of the favor. And basically, it is about... Here's a picture I can show you real quick. There's a picture of the Castle Freak.
That looks familiar.
These people, I do believe, inherit a castle. And when they move in, they find out that they have an unwanted guest, if you will. And it is the Castle Freak, which is kind of this zombie vampire, like it's a monster. I'm just mixing up different things because it is very cannibalistic. And it has a feel of a slasher and then also a feel of like a haunted house movie. And it's got some cool feels to it. Very underrated because it's from the 1990s. And of course, horror had kind of fallen on its ass at that point in juncture because by then we were just getting tongue-in-cheek sequels to the horror icons of the 80s.
Right.
With the exception of Candyman, which was very successful in the 90s. They are pitching for Neil Marshall to take hold of this. Of course, if you don't know who he is, The Descent.
Yeah.
He directed The Descent. And also he has been in where he would definitely fit into this medieval theme.
Yeah.
Game of Thrones.
Interesting.
He was involved in Game of Thrones. He worked on Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I could see that. That'd be interesting.
Can you believe the guy that directed The Descent worked on Game of Thrones?
Yeah.
So now that we've gone through their list, do you have any honorable mentions or anything that you thought of that would possibly make a good television series? You don't have to give a personal show run.
Right.
I'm not
I can't think of who that would be. And there's a lot of these people I didn't realize. I didn't know their names. I know after you said what they did. Yeah. So, I'm not going to go that route. But I was kind of making notes as we went because I saw the article had been posted, but I didn't read it. You told me that you were going to do this, and I didn't read it. You didn't give me any idea what they were ahead of time just to get a genuine reaction out of me, and I appreciated that. So I was kind of taking notes as we went. So there's a few of them. I've actually started coming up with a pretty good list here, I think. The first one on my list would be Waxwork.
Yes, just because I'm sold.
Yeah.
They should remake Waxwork.
Yeah, I agree.
They should remake Waxwork 2. It's about time.
Yeah.
That's right. By the way, that was the real name of the sequel.
Yes.
And they time travel. Yes.
They do.
They didn't bullshit. They time travel.
Interesting. Yeah, I can see that being a series.
That stars what's his name from Gremlins.
Yes. Yeah, Zach. Not
sorry.
Zac Efron, not Zach Galifianakis, the other Zach.
Yes, I can't. Sorry, guys. I don't even
It's
want
a
to
Greek
look it up
last
right
name,
now.
I believe. So,
but still, anyways,
the guy from Gremlins.
He's the guy from Gremlins. Is all you have to know.
I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on that right now.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't know why.
He was
either,
one of my heroes as a kid.
I'm not going to jump into it. He's just from Gremlins. That's all that matters. And he was in the Waxwork movies, so bring him back and bring on the Waxworks. Whether movie or TV show I'm in. TV show would work really well because you could do a different exhibit every week.
Right. Speaking with that theme, and this one just popped in my head right now, House of Wax.
Yeah, House of Wax was the originator, the OG, if you will, of the Wax movies. So,
I think that's underrated too.
They can kind of go hand in hand.
A lot of people really, really did not like that movie.
Are you talking about the remake or the original?
Remake? I've never seen the original all the way through.
You should see the original.
I do want to watch it. I do. It's Vincent Price, right? Yeah. I never actually saw that. If I'm not mistaken, isn't what's his name from the Death Wish movies in that? Isn't he his assistant?
Yes.
Why am I drawing a blank?
We're both drawing blanks here.
Charles Bronson.
Yeah, Chuck Bronson. Wow, I'm horribly blanking out today. It's a long
it happens. It's late when we record this.
Yes.
So I would like to see that as a series. Anything with like wax dummies and a wax museum. I think that makes a great atmosphere.
It works well. for a TV series.
Saw.
Yeah.
I don't know that they could do it because of the amount of money it would take to build the traps and stuff like that.
I was going to say, add that
to
to the list of like Alien and Final Destination of things that I believe that are just too expensive to do.
Right.
And even The Thing, you could add it to that list too. Too expensive to do.
Right.
Although if they did it, I would watch it.
Right.
Just throwing it out there.
We got a reboot/sequel coming out of this next one, Candyman.
Yes. I love Candyman. I like it better as a movie.
Yeah.
But I could see it as a show.
You could see it really expand the mythology behind the character.
Yes, you could do if you were doing the show, you would have to expand the mythology of the character. But I do like it better in movie form, and I can't wait to see the new movie.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm going to be excited about that, which is already filming, as we know. So.
Yes.
I got a couple more that I came up with here. The next two I kind of put together because they're kind of, although the remakes were completely different, the original movies were somewhat similar, and that would be House on Haunted Hill.
Okay.
And The Haunting.
I like both.
Yeah.
I do like the remake of House on Haunted Hill.
Oh yeah,
I did enjoy that.
Oh, that's a fun movie.
I love the original.
Jeffrey Rush.
Yes, I love the original, but I did enjoy that sequel.
Yeah. Oh, that is one of the most fun movies. Jeffrey Rush is a classically trained actor that makes very serious roles, and there he is taking over Vincent Price's character. His last name is actually Price. He's Mr. Price. Yeah. And that is such a fun movie.
It was a great movie. Also, I would like to throw out into that nod, you could do Ghost Ship, which was basically, I used to dub it as Boat on Haunted Waters.
Yeah.
Is what I used to dub that movie.
Yeah.
It's basically, the Ghost Ship was basically House on Haunted Hill on a boat.
Yeah, I could see that being more one of those movies that would go straight to sci-fi if they were going to do that.
Right. But I'm not saying the movie. I would like to see Ghost Ship as a show.
That's what I'm saying.
I think you could do some fun shit with it.
Yeah, maybe.
The same way, all those movies kind of had that kind of theme to them that you could do some fun stuff.
Yeah, they were all from that time, era.
I have the perfect one when you're done.
Okay, I got one more that I put on the list.
That's fine.
And it's one that I actually want to see a sequel to the movie, and it really kind of bombed at the box office just last year. But I went to see it with the professor and loved it. Bought it on DVD when it came out. Loved it even more. Hellfest.
Oh, yes. I thought it was very fun.
That could be a great movie
that would
or a great
actually
series
be
this time of year.
That would be a good TV series.
Oh, it'd be great.
Very good TV series.
Because that movie needs to be... They needed to make a sequel. That could have been a great series of movies.
So I got 3.
Okay.
I'm going to name. I actually thought of more, but I got 3 that I'm going to name. 2 are specific to... Well, I got 4 I'm going to name. I'm going to give you an honorable mention. I'll give that right before my perfect one. So I got 2 that have to... Actually, the first 3 have to do with the show. 2 of them are good ideas. 1 of them is not. And then I have a main event one, which I think is the perfect idea for a TV show.
Okay.
So, number 1, just for our friend the professor who's listening, The Collector.
Yeah. Oh, I'd be all
They
about
are
that.
making a new movie, as we know. But I think that would be a cool show.
Yeah.
I think that would be, because you would get to see him in different home invasions.
Yeah.
So I think that would be cool to do as a show. Number 2, I said 2 that do, what was the other one? Oh, Behind the Mask. I'd like to delve into like something earlier where you could play around in that world.
Yeah, the originally when they were going to make a sequel to it, it was actually going to be called Before the Mask.
Mm-hmm. But I would like to see that in a TV form, only because I feel like if you put it on like a Shudder or like Netflix or something, you could do a really cool backstory. You could really build that character, and I think if you gave it hours instead of even if it was only one season and you only did like 8 episodes, that would be like 8 hours of building the character that we all liked in that movie. The only downside is that it would be weird to do it with the actor.
Yeah,
I don't see that character as another actor.
Right. Here's my only point with that. I would prefer very, very much. I dying to see a sequel. It's been in the works for so long, or rumored to be in the works for so long. I want to see another movie more than anything, but if we could only get a series and we can get Nathan Basil to come back to play him again,
right?
And
I would
Angela Goethals to come back as Taylor Gentry. I would love to see that done. If that's the only way I could get it, I would love to see it that way, but I'd prefer that in a movie form.
I would like a movie as well. But I'm just thinking that you could do a lot with the character if you get extended time.
There's a comic book series. There's a limited comic book series. I bought the first couple of issues, and I still have to buy the rest of them, and it was actually really good. It had the same humor. It was really good.
So the one that I said would not be a good idea, but I'm going to say it anyways, it would
Freddy's
be
Dead?
Freddy's Dead. Yes. How did you know? Because I had to.
It wouldn't be a show without it.
I didn't get in the show. Freddy's Dead. Could you imagine just a whole series based on Freddy's Dead?
Not Freddy's Nightmares. Freddy's Dead.
Now,
the series.
Freddy's Nightmares. I like. They could bring it back.
Yeah, but it'd be Freddy's Dead the series.
Freddy's Dead the series. Freddy's Nightmares Dead the series. I don't know how
You're dead to me right now. That's what you are.
I just want to throw it. But the most perfect, I think, the most perfect show idea, and we are getting a sequel as we know in December, would be The Shining.
The Shining?
The Shining, yes. But The Shining. I do believe The Shining as a television series. You could do it in many different ways that would give you a lot of time. You could delve into the past
right
of the resort. You could delve into the future if you want. There's so much to play with the mythology of that it would actually be a really cool show. Once again, that's got to be on a. That's got to. I as much as I love Shudder, I don't know if they have the money to put that one out. So that's got to be on an Amazon and Netflix.
Right.
You know, maybe Disney Plus wants to put it on Hulu.
Well, you know what? There's Castle. Was it Castle Rock? I believe
Castle
it's on
Rock.
Hulu that did well. Here's the thing. There's a fine line with that because that movie is one of the most perfect horror movies ever made, in my opinion.
Right.
So I don't want to even see Dr. Sleep. I wish that the book never existed. I know it's not that it's not that. I just kind of wish that it didn't exist. Because that movie was so perfect. I still need to read the book. I heard the book is even better, but at the same time, there's so much material there that you could go to work.
I want to point this out to you. If you love the movie, you probably won't like the book. And the reason why is the book is nothing like the movie.
Okay.
The reason that Stephen King did not like Stanley Kubrick is Kubrick basically told him to F off and did what he wanted.
Okay.
In my opinion, and I've read the book and I've seen the movie. Now, I know it's sacrilegious, especially if the professor was here. He would tell me it'd be sacrilegious to tell you that the book wasn't as good as the movie, but I don't think the book is as good as the movie. And the reason being, and it's not that Stephen King did a bad job. The Shining as a book is good, but I saw the movie first, and it doesn't compare to the Kubrick version, but that's because I love Stanley Kubrick in his movies.
Talk about atmosphere.
Now, with that being said,
that's the king of the atmosphere.
The book, with all the mythology in the book, lends itself better to a TV series where you could delve into that mythology.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't be just confined. You could use what King's original works were and then go further into the mythology, because you find out that there's a big time mythology with the Overlook, and it's all in the book.
Right. And I can see that. I think it would fail miserably because of the way that people would compare it to Stanley Kubrick's masterpiece. That's the problem. That's, it's just, I think it's a natural reaction that we as humans have.
But that's why I have hopes for Dr. Sleep, because it is a melding of the book and a melding of the sequel of Kubrick.
I don't know what to think of that. I'm really excited to see it, but I just kind of have this really bad lingering feeling that I'm going to walk out of that like, oh my God, this never should have been made. It's just and it might end up being an excellent movie. I have nothing but faith in Mike Flanagan. The trailer looks awesome. From what I understand, the book is good. I have high hopes for that movie. I have high hopes for it too. I have this lingering feeling that I'm going to walk out of there just really disappointed because it's not going to compare to the original, and it's not really supposed to, really.
Right.
I mean, they threw things in there in the trailer that you see that do tie it in, but I don't know. The Shining is it's one of my all-time favorite movies, and the atmosphere and the suspense and everything that builds in that movie, the acting, the era that it came out, those years when they filmed it, the kind of cameras that they used, that gritty look and stuff, it was just the perfect storm. That era was so good for movies in general, the way they look. I don't know.
I agree. But
there is a lot of material there.
There's a lot of material there. So with that concludes Talking Horror. Once again, just going into the close, if you want to comment on anything that we talked about in this episode, especially if you would like to tell us what horror movie we might have missed that would make an amazing TV show, movie that make a great TV show, let us know. Or even the other way around. If you have a TV show that you think would make an amazing horror movie, I would
Perfect Strangers.
Hey, there you go.
We'll get Balky. Return of Balky.
Well, we already got that because we got the what was the one with the bears? Damn it, I am drawing a blank.
There was a movie with bears and Balky.
Remember we did the damn it, why am I drawing a blank? Remember the movie that was like a kid's show from the 70s that they redid into
the one that's gonna be on Sci-Fi.
Yeah.
Why am I drawing a blank on this? Our brains are shot by this point when we record.
Never mind. I'm going to leave this into the podcast just to prove that we don't always edit out our mistakes. Because whatever, if you guys remember, if you're yelling at your radios right now, like, you idiots, it's this movie. Go ahead, feel free to let us know. Of course, on Facebook we are Horror Zone 607. On Twitter we're at Horror Zone 607. To join the conversation, always use the hashtag HZ607 and go to 8122production.com. Sometime by the end of this weekend, it looks like Mike C will have a review up for It Chapter 2. That's awesome. We'll definitely be going over that on the next podcast, unless we hit you with a special podcast just about the review. You never know. One of the two. Either way, Horror Zone 607 will bring it to you.
And the correct answer was the banana splits.
That's what it was. There you go.
Light bulb went on.
Yeah, sorry.
And I might have cheated and looked it up while you were doing your spots.
Yeah, so I'm sorry. Of course, you heard the advertisements. You can come see us live. Of course, we'll be at RoberCon September 28th and 29th. We do know now that the Three Fat Nerds live podcast, which will be featuring Mike C., the 8122 Productions Happy Family all together.
I'm just happy to be nominated.
On stage, we will be there doing a live podcast from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. Before us at 11 to 12, it will be the ODPH, our good friends. So check them out. Check out their podcast, Ocho Duro Parlay Hour, the ODPH. So that's where we'll be September 28th and 29th. Then, of course, we get to the exciting news. October 4th and 5th, we are sponsoring Sci-Fi Horror Fest. So we will be there. You can come hang out with us. Dustin Pari is there. Courtney Gaines is there. Jill Whitlow is there. Awesome vendors and stuff. You heard all about it in the spot, so I shouldn't even go over it. Go ahead and get your tickets to that, sci-fi-horrorfest.com. And then last but certainly not least, because it is in order the last one at this point, October 18th, 19th, and 20th, ScareCon in Rochester, New York. Of course, get your tickets at scarecon.com. And once again, a ton of stuff in the spots. And as we get closer, we'll do a little preview of where we're going to be, because it's awesome. We like to see you, and we like to support the things that support us.
All right. Thanks, Rich. All right, well, that's our show for this week. I want to thank Rich for being my co-host and being here each and every week and all the hard work you put in. I want to thank our good friends over at the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour, Ken M. Thanks for everything you do for us. And we want to thank you fans for listening each and every week. We will be back in the studio next week, and we can't wait to talk more horror and bring you the week's biggest horror movie news. Until then, see ya.